We will start in like 3 minutes. Okay, guys. Hello. Attention, please. Hello. Okay, I'll start the second workshop for Unity. So, welcome to the second Unity workshop. So, what we'll do for this, what we'll do for this lecture is we'll recap the previous one first. This is like a really short recap. Then we'll go into some more advanced scripting things that we can learn. Then a lot of people were having trouble with the old input system last time. I'll show you how to disable it. Plus, I'll just show you how to implement whatever we did with the new input system. Just a really quick rundown of it. Then we'll do some camera follow because the camera will have to follow the player because it will just be moving towards the right, like in Geometry Dash. Then we'll go over how to make the player jump. And then if we have time, we can go into the death, the respawning, all the life cycle things for the game. So again, if anyone hasn't attended last lecture, I'm Arnav Malhotra. I have around 3 years of experience in game dev. I have done a diploma and I make games for JCs and polys and all that stuff. I make edtech games mostly. I have experience in AA as well as some mentorship from like studios you've heard of, like Ubisoft and all that, and I've won awards. So this is your attendance scanning. So go ahead. Take your time. Maybe scan that one. Yeah, some guy. Take a seat anywhere. It's okay. There's seats there. Okay, if you haven't scanned the attendance, I've sent the slides over. You can just scan it there. So I'll move on. So what we covered in the last lecture. So what is a game object? Is just an object inside your scene, inside your game. These are what allow you to do things in the game. So how you make a player, that's a game object. If you make your ground, that's a game object. And these can have components on them. So what are components? These are these things over here. Each component, like these are some basic components that we have. The mesh renderer, this is how you can actually see the cube as a physical object. The mesh filter, we'll go into this way later. And the transform component, which is a predefined component with every game object. There's no game object without a transform component. What the transform component has is values dictating the position, the rotation, and the scale of the game object. So these are, do you see these three arrows? These are the Y, the Z, and the X, or whatever. And these can be controlled by dragging the X, Y, and Z axis. Similarly, we have the rotation, which is also a Euler rotation, so X, Y, and Z. So we will rotate this pen, if this is a game object, we rotate it on the X, Y, Z in whatever order we have. We have some specific order in Unity that I'm not sure of. The scale is how you control how wide, how tall, or how deep an object is. So you can just drag that value to make your cube either like more wide, more tall, anything like that. So yeah. And we covered a very basic script on how to move our player through the key, through pressing a key. So this is the old input system that we learned. So what happens is when you press the D button with the key code D, so when you press the D button, this value in the if statement becomes true, and this statement is run, and the move player just adds adds a movement towards the right of the player game object. So yeah, so that is basically what we covered. Also, feel free to raise your hand during any point of time. I'm very happy to repeat anything that any problem on your laptop, anything. I'm very happy to just assist you with that. And if for example you guys just like didn't pay attention for a bit, I'll repeat anything you want for you. Really simple. So let's recap scripting and then go into beyond what we learned in the last lecture. So Unity uses C# language as its primary scripting language. There's other languages for like shaders and all that, but that's a bit more advanced. But the primary one that a gameplay programmer will use is C#. This is a statically typed and object-oriented programming language. This means that whenever you have a variable or object or whatever, you will need to specify what type of variable object it is. There are exceptions to that with the var keyword, in which you can just like do anything. It's like basically Python, but I wouldn't recommend using it for beginner. Some basic types are int, float, bool, strings. So integers are your basic like value, negative or positive, 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, -2, -3. 0.01 is not an integer. That's a float. So a float is a floating point number. That means that in a float, you'll have values like 0 point, the floating point, and 0.01. That's a float. And at the end of the float, how you will write a float is that you'll have a float, and then you'll say the name of the float is like my float, and then you'll do a is equal to, which means you're assigning assigning this float a value, which will be, for example, 0.01, sorry, 01 f, and this f is really important, which basically tells your scripting editor that it's a floating point number. Hopefully everyone can see this. And at the end, you'll have a semicolon. This marks the end of your line. Okay. Okay, I'll cover this again later. Then what's a function? We covered what a function is. I'll go here. So this piece of code that you write here is a function. So what it does is just a bunch of lines of code that you can call whenever you want. So for example, we wanted to do movement 2 times. Instead of copy pasting this line again and again, what we did is we just made a very simple line, very simple function, and then this function we just called here and here. Really simple way. I know a lot of you had troubles with the parameters. So what a parameter is a value that you'll pass into your function. So for example, this speed, this is a, I don't know, right? This is a float number. And then what you're doing is you're passing this into your move player function. And then this current speed gets replaced by the value inside the speed. We're basically like assigning the current speed is equal to speed. Not actually, but a very simple way to understand is that you're assigning it. So function can also have return types. Here, when we made our move player function, the return type was void. This means that there's absolutely no return type. However, when you want to specify return type, for example, you want to return, for example, you're getting your player's health and you want to like get its health, then you'll go like, this is my function called get health, and then brackets to show the parameter that there are no parameters. This bracket always needs to be there, and then inside the body, which is marked by the curly brackets, we say return, which is a keyword saying that we want to return this value here, which is the health, and this health has to be a type of int. This seems very might be too much, but as we go into it, I'll get you some intuition on how to actually think of this. Then we covered some base functions that come with Unity. These are your update, your update, your start function, and awake function. All those sort of functions are functions that come inside Unity. These are what you use to actually initialize or make your game respond to your player. So if because I wanted my player to move to the right side when I pressed the D button, what I did was I placed it in the update loop, update function, which is called every single frame that your game is run. Then, yeah. Okay, now I'll just go into the project. hopefully everyone has Unity installed. If you don't have it, please go ahead and do it now. We can continue with later. But yeah, so for now, let's just cover a basic player. We'll get to the basics again. So what you should do is go right click here, create empty. Hopefully everyone has Unity installed. Also, if you don't have Visual Studio 2022 installed, then try to have it on. Otherwise, I can't really. That's the editor I'm familiar with. I can't really help you with other editors. Yeah. The project. You need to make a new one. I don't know. I haven't uploaded the project files. Yeah, I've just uploaded the scripts. So if anyone wants to like follow along, what they need to do is just take the script from the Telegram, just put it in your project, then assign it to your game object, whatever you want, and then it should work. Hopefully. Yeah. So what I'll do now is I'll create an empty game object. I'll call this one player. Is that okay, everyone? Can I get the thumbs up or something? Everyone got their game object created? Okay. Okay, good enough. So we created a game object. We named it player in the inspector here. The inspector is actually where you see all the components that are attached to your game object. So here I can add a component. I'll click on add component. And then I can make a script called my player script. And when you search for a script a component that doesn't exist, it automatically assumes that you're creating a script. And then you can just click on new script and then create and add. And then you can see a new component has been added to your game object. It should take some time to compile everything. Yeah. Then I can double click on either this like grayed out my player script like icon. I can double click on this and it should open Visual Studio 2022. Yeah, feel free to follow along. If there's any trouble, I'm very happy to help you. It's very simple. Okay, so this is still in the recap sort of part of the project, part of the script. I'll just zoom in a bit. Okay, so here, wait, I'll cover. Yeah. So for each component, there is a base class. A class is I'll get to that later again. A class is a class is just a magical like word that can make your script into a component that you can attach basically. Yeah, I'll get to it. And then so when you have this mono behavior here, what you can do is this is what allows you to be able to like have this component. You have this component. When you make a script, it should appear in your assets window. Then because it has the mono behavior base class, which is a magical keyword right now, what you can do is you can drag it into the inspector window for the game object and then release, and then you can add the game object. However, I'll just remove the mono behavior to show you, and I'll save, then let it compile, and then it should throw an error or something like that. Yeah, so error, it says that script can't be loaded because it's not a mono-behavior script. A mono-behavior is what allows it to become a component that is attached to the game object. So I'll just go back. Yeah. Okay, again, start is a function that comes from your mono behavior script there, and this is what actually makes your start and update function work. This is why we see an error when we don't have the mono behavior, but we have the actually shouldn't throw error, but the error is because the component. But the start and the update functions are from mono behavior. They somehow magically make them work when you make your start update functions. This is what makes it work. And okay, let's cover what classes are now. So when you create all right. Okay, I'll just cover what classes are. Classes are, let me go. So what a class is, so as we know that C# is a object-oriented programming language. This means that everything we do is related to either creating or manipulating objects. Basically, everything that you make is an object. So, but how do we make these objects? That's the question. So we make these objects using classes. So classes are basically blueprints for objects. So when I want to make an object called car, this is my car object. I want to really make a game about like a racing game or something, and I have a car object. What I'll do is I'll make a class called car, and then I'll some curly brackets, and then I can do whatever I want here. And then what I can do now is I can say new car. So when you do this, this creates a object of the type of car. Car is a blueprint for this object that we're creating here. We can manipulate it however we want, but the main thing that we need to be concerned is that class is a blueprint for a game object. Whenever you get confused, just remember that classes are blueprints for objects, any sort of object. Any questions? Any doubts? Anything that you want me to retell, re-say? Everything okay? Okay. So similar to, okay, so whenever we make a script inside our game, whenever we make a script here, we add a component, we do a new script, whatever. What Unity does is that it makes a class with the name of the script that you made, and this class inherits from mono behavior. So inheritance is when you have okay, let me go back here and explain. Okay, classes can also inherit from each other. So this thing is called inheritance. So how do you inherit from another class? So an example would be like how do you actually inherit from classes? You have, for example, a car class, and you, for example, you want to inherit this. You want to say that this car inherits from a script called vehicle. So this is how you would say it. I'll get to what this means later, but this is how you basically would do inheritance in your classes. But what actually does inheritance do? So what inheritance does is that it clarifies is a relationship. So what this means is that now what we are saying is that car is a vehicle. And for example, we can also have, I don't know, dog is a animal. So very simple. What OOP does is the really fun things. The fun thing about OOP, you can clarify relationships between classes, and this one would be that this class is this other class. So a dog is an animal. When, but what actually happens when we inherit from another class is that we take all of the variables and all of the functions that belong to this class inside this class. So what this means is that actually I'll go to the laptop. So I'll just make a really simple class, and I think you'll be able to understand it better. And how you make a class is first you specify the access modifier for the class. So either if the class is publicly available throughout your project, either you want it to be private to the namespace or the script, I think. So for example, I want my car class to be a public class. I need it to be accessible everywhere. So I'll say public, and I'll say that is a type of class. So public class, and then I'll say the name of my class. For example, I can say car. You can say car. You can say car 123. You can say car. You can't say at. The only like 123 alpha alpha alphabets. I think underscores work also. Yeah. So let's make a very basic car class, and then we will have our curly brackets. So now when we enter the curly brackets, what we're doing is we're specifying what all variables, what all functions, what all methods are inside this class. So for example, our car, every car has a nameplate or maybe a color. Okay, so I'll say our car has a color, so a private color. So this color is only belonging to this class. No one can read it. No one can see that it has this color. Private, and I can say a string, and this can be my color. So what we've done is we specified an access modifier, which is private, for a variable called color, which is of type string. A string is just hopefully you get it, it's just alphabets or numbers or any sort of characters you have, any ASCII characters that you have. Yeah. So now that we have a car with a private color, how do we make, for example, an automobile or a vehicle class, and how do we make it inherit from? How do we make our car class inherit from that class? How we'll do that is we'll have a public vehicle. We'll make another class called vehicle. Sorry, the public class vehicle, and then our curly brackets. Then we can make this vehicle have a type of maybe, okay, so every vehicle can have a number of wheels. So I can say this one has a public, which is, so every class can see it. It has a public integer, which is the number of wheels. And these, we have made 2 classes already. Congrats, you have made your first classes. So how do we make it inherit? How do we establish a relationship? We'll do our that's called a colon, right? It's a colon with vehicle, and voila, it's that you have made a relationship between your 2 classes, car and vehicle. So what you said in English is, how you would say it is that I made a car which is a vehicle, and in terms of code you can see like, okay, this vehicle has number of wheels, and this car has a private color. So now what we can do is, for example, I'll just go here in our mono behavior class and create a new car. So as I said, class is a blueprint for an object. Here, when we say a new keyword, when we say the keyword new, what we want to do is we make a new object. So we made a new object, and then we specified that this object is of a type car, and then to initialize it, to call the constructor, I'll get into this later, to just construct it, to make it, you do this, these two brackets, yeah, I think brackets, and then this makes a new car. But the thing is, we can't access this car anywhere. How do we like manipulate it? How do we make it exist like past this line, right? What we'll do is this car, we can assign it to a variable. So, and what will be the variable type? It will be a type of car. So we're saying that this car, we'll say that my car is equal to new car. So I'm saying that my is a new car. Yeah, that's all. We're saying that this car is a car that we just made. This object is this variable. So we're getting a reference to our new object that we made, new car that we made. So now we can take this my car variable. We've assigned our object to a variable, and now we can manipulate it however we want. As we did establish that a car is a vehicle, now what we can do is that we can actually reference my car dot, and then I click dot, and the autofill suggestions say equals and number of wheels. This is the number of wheels integer is not from the car class, it's from the vehicle class. And then when you, for example, if I remove this and remove this line, I'll just save it. Then what whenever I can see is when I do dot, the number of wheels, the variable, the field that we had in our vehicle class, which then was inherited by our car class, disappears because we said that the car is no longer a vehicle. So yeah, similarly, we can also make functions inside classes. For example, I can make a function here. Say this function is a private function. I'll say the access modifier is private. So when you say private, public, protected, these are three access modifiers. I think these are the only three that you need to know. Private, and then I can specify the return type of the function. So I can say this return type is a void. So there's no return type. This function doesn't return anything. And then we can say start car, and then we leave the parameters alone, parameters empty. There's no parameters to the function. And then we can call the curly brackets to create the function. So now we made a function that belongs to the car class. However, this function is right now private. So what we do is, if we have this my car class and we do dot, we cannot see this function that we made, the start car function, anywhere over here because it's private. It's not accessible anywhere outside this class. So to make this accessible anywhere outside the class, what I'll do is I'll say public. So now this is a publicly accessible function that we can access anywhere. And then when I go dot, I can see the start car function suddenly appears. Yeah. Similarly, we can also make a function here in the vehicle, or maybe we can say this. We can call this one start vehicle. And then what happens is when we car, because the car is a vehicle, we will also take over the function that we just made. The wait. I didn't save it. Oh yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so now I can call the start vehicle function, because we are inheriting the start vehicle function from our vehicle class. This does not exist inside our car class. So hopefully that makes you understand what inheritance is. There are some really interesting things you can do with inheritance. For example, what happens if you have this start vehicle function here, but you also have it here? Then what happens? Then this is called um, yeah. Basically, what we're doing here is that the when we call the car class, instead of taking this vehicle start function, what it does is it will call this start function. So this is some like interesting sort of tidbits that you can dive into. This is called like overriding, I guess, or sort of overriding. But this is not how I would recommend to do it. Um. All right. So yeah, so when we make a class, a small recap, when we make a class, we inherit it, we make a is a relationship, a dog is an animal, a car is a vehicle, and then this inheritance can lead to some interesting behavior. For example, that now I can have two classes, for example, a dog and a human, and they can both be inheriting from animal. So this can be um, so maybe we consider the vehicle example. What we can do here, we copy this, we cut this out. We can make a new vehicle. We can call this one like a bike. And then now we have a bike, which is and a car, which is a vehicle. So then now when we call start vehicle, we don't have to specify, we don't have to make a new start vehicle function for bike and then for car again. We can just specify one in the base class, the vehicle class, and then we can just let inheritance do its thing, really clean code. And yeah, so this is how you would do it. Now I have a really small activity to do. So now everyone can just come up with a small like animal class. Just specify like a few variables inside it. For example, the color, the I don't know, the name of the animal, and then make two classes, a dog or any other two classes, and then you can have it inherit from the base animal class. Just do it in your table groups, like whatever table you are, and just like I'll come over and see and stuff. No worries if you can't understand. I can just answer whatever questions you have. Yeah, so go ahead, do this now. And if any questions, just ask me. I can repeat anything, even if you want me to repeat the entire class, like like explanation. I can repeat it again. Just tell me. Okay, I'll give you like 5 6 minutes. Just like talk to your neighbors. Just like make a small just script. It just should just look like it works. It's okay if it doesn't work. It just look like it works. Yeah, just talk to your neighbors. Just talk to your neighbors. Introduce yourself. Okay, time up, time up. Okay, okay, okay. Everyone. Okay, time up. Okay, let's continue on the next thing. I think everyone was able to do it. If any questions, I can answer. I think a question that some of you had was this start and void update. So, what are these functions? These functions and the update function are called when you press the start function is called when you press this button. When the game starts, every object which has the start function will run whatever you wrote in it, and the update function is run every single frame. So when you launch your game and the game is running, every single frame your this update whatever is in this update function is run. So if I have here debug.log. So this is basically like a print for Unity. It's like saying when you do like print hello world or something, you go here and you say like update. Then this would appear like a bajillion times. It's like gonna appear like whatever my frame rate is. For example, my frame rate is 400. This will appear 400 times a second. I'll just show you. Okay, hopefully there's no errors, but yeah. So my game is full screen. To make it not full screen, you just double click on the game button here, and then you can go on console here, and then you can see that update is like rapidly increasing. This is like it's like 3,000, now it's 4,000, all that. So every single frame you call whatever is in your update function for every single script that is in the game, in the scene. When you press play and it's running, it calls the update function. Okay. Any other doubts? Any other questions? Anything you want me to repeat? Anything? What? No. I was just explaining the start and the update and so. Yeah. Okay. Let's continue. So okay. So this is like a bit extra. So overriding functions. So like like we saw before, when we made a function inside a car, inside our vehicle called start vehicle, and we made another function inside a car called start car, you see that there's this like squiggly green line. So so what it's doing is it's just hiding what is in the vehicle, in the what the start function, the start vehicle function in the vehicle is. So instead of calling the for example when I make a new object car, my car is equal to new car, my car dot start vehicle is gonna call this start vehicle here instead of this one. This can leave you with like some unexpected behavior, I'd say. So how do you like formulate a way to make it like more like streamlined? How do you make it so it's like intentional that you're gonna override this function, that you're gonna make a function which is like similar to this one and can be called like this? Is just what you do is you have this thing called virtual, and then you can put it here, virtual. And then what is that in the vehicle class, which is our parent class, what we're saying is this start vehicle, this function, will be overridden by whatever child classes it has. So we're saying that this is a contract between our vehicle and whatever child classes it has. Is saying that this start vehicle is going to be overridden by every other child class. So when we say now, we can say override. And then what this can do is, instead of unexpectedly just like you accidentally create like a override, you hide some function or something, you intentionally do it. One more interesting thing that it gives you access to is that you can actually now call base.start vehicle. So what this does is that now in the start vehicle, what you can do is you can call the start vehicle inside vehicle along with whatever extra logic you want. For example, before I start vehicle for a car, I want to what's it called, turn the keys. So I'll say like debug.log turn keys, then start vehicle for this car. There's some more interesting things. There's something called polymorphism. I think I wouldn't have time to cover this for over the lectures, but yeah, basically, yeah. So one more interesting thing about I think the final interesting thing about parent classes and inheritance and all that is, because we said is a relationship, what we can now do is that, as we said here, that this car, we make a new car here and we assign it to a variable which is named car. What we can do now, hey, silence. What we can do now is we can specify that it's a vehicle. So what we've done is that because car is a vehicle, we can specify that this car, because car is a vehicle, what we can say is that we can assign it to a variable which is also of type vehicle. So this variable is expecting a type of vehicle inside it, but because the car is a vehicle, this also gets accepted here. So that's like something interesting about it. Now you can okay, very simply what I'll do is you can now do like my car dot start vehicle. Now this is like ambiguous because this is a type of vehicle, but we assign it to a car. So which one do we call? Which start vehicle do we call? The parent class or the child class? Yeah, because we overrid it. So it's going to be class. But I'm not 100% sure if the parent class is called. If you don't override it, I won't get into it. But really simple. This is like I guess really basic polymorphism. You'll get it more if you're like studying CS. You're doing 20, 30 S. You'll get into it. Okay. So let's cover what a static variable is. Okay, a static variable is gonna be really important to you. It has to be your like bread and butter when you like actually get into making games and stuff, because of a design pattern which is called a singleton. I'll explain this a bit more. So now we're going into like even more advanced like OOP. Now we're going to like design patterns, how we design our code. So so what is a static variable? What happens when you do make something static? So when you make a variable which is like a public static is a not pubic public static, and you say like this is a type of integer number of players. So what you've done is that you've made a variable which does not belong to an object. What it belongs to is this class here, the class that has this static integer, this variable. This integer is going to belong to this class, not to a particular object. So you might understand it like a shared variable. So when you update one's public number of players, whenever you see wherever you in whatever object you go and you say the number of players, it's gonna be the same. You can update it, you can do a +1 to it, and then on every single place where you see it, it's gonna update to +1. But however, if you go public int number of players, when you say when you say my player script and you make a new object and then you say number of players equal to 1, or we assign it wherever, we are changing the variable that is assigned, that is specific to the object. I'll show you an example with the car, or the vehicle actually. So here we have the vehicle class. When we have this car and we change the number of wheels and we can make a plus is equal to 1, this means that what we are doing is my car dot number of players +1. So we're assigning it to a value which is 1 greater than what it is. Then what it does is that when you make another variable of another object of type car, this value is going to be different for it. The value here is value for my car is going to be one additional than whatever the base number is. However, if I make this static public static int number of wheels, now I can't do this because now it doesn't belong to any object. What we need to do is call it on the class itself. So how we'll do it is that we'll have a vehicle dot number of wheels plus is equal to 1. So we're calling this on the class itself. Notice how we aren't calling this on the my car. We're not doing my car or number of wheels plus is equal to 1. We're saying that every single car has number of wheels, the class itself, the vehicle, the type itself, like every vehicle has the number of wheels plus is equal to 1. So any doubts, any questions, anything? This might be a bit too much to digest for now. Yeah? Yeah.
So we say public class the script name and model behavior. Does that mean a script can inherit another script?
Yeah.
So how does
so a script so what do you mean by a script can inherit another script?
Instead of model behavior, we say my player script colon then let's say player movement.
Yeah, you can do that because and then you'll also be able to assign it because as we say, like for example, we have this player movement script that I made before. This is inheriting from mono behavior. So what we're saying is this movement and this is a mono whatever, and then we do like my player script is a player movement, and I did that and no error, nothing. And then we're saying that my player script is a whatever this is. I won't write it again.
So it's a mono behavior.
Yeah, and then the thing is, the interesting thing about this is that now we'll be able to assign both the my player script and the player movement. We can assign it to a object because they both like is a mono behavior. Okay. Okay. Any other thing? Anything you want me to repeat? Anything? Questions? Okay. All right. Um. So yeah, basically, this is the example that I had in the slides. It's like a car, and you say like total car sold. So this is like a type of thing you would have to have be static, and then you can like increase it by one or set it to one in the starting of the game or something, and this will set it for the blueprint, the class itself, not a particular object. And yeah, so now what is a singleton? A singleton is a design pattern. So what does this mean? So a singleton is a type of way in which you can design your managers, your whatever scripts you have inside your game. So how you would do this is by exploiting like static, the keyword static. So we're using it in a way where it's not intended. It's not obvious that we can use it this way. So how you would make a singleton is you would go, for example, I'll reset this. If I want my player script to be a singleton, which means that there is only one player inside my scene. There can only ever exist one player inside my scene. This is useful for like audio managers where we want only one audio manager to play a particular sound. If we have like four audio managers, four players, four audio managers playing a single sound, it's going to be really loud. It's going to be really like annoying, whatever, right? Because people can just set as many audio sources they want. They can set like whatever they want. They can have really loud, really ecstatic, really weird volume stuff. So we only want one single audio manager in our scene, and then we can do that by making a singleton of the player, of the audio manager, of the player manager, or whatever manager we have. Usually is used for managers. So how you would do that is that you'll say really like I honestly I just remember this because of how many singletons I've made. What you say is private static, and the type of the static variable is gonna be the class that it's inside. So I say my player script, and I say instance. So name of the name of the variable, the type of this variable, this type of the instance variable is the my player script, which is also the class that is inside. That is how we're like exploiting it, because I don't think they intended for it to be this way. But we can now make a private static, so it belongs to the class, but it's also inside the class, and it's called an instance. So this is a bit confusing. I'll break it down a bit slowly for you. So now basically what we can do, why this is so useful, aside from being able to like create and use whatever being able to have only one sort of instance of an object, one sort of game object in the scene, we can also have some interesting behavior for this. Namely, now when we need a function like I want to move the player here, and so this is a function called move player. How I can do this is I can just simply call my player script dot inst. This is, we gotta make this public first, and it's completely okay if you don't understand this. This is, I don't expect everyone to get this. It's like really advanced. But feel free to ask me the questions and stuff. I can say my player script dot instance. So instance, and then I can say move this public. Then I can say my player script dot instance dot move player. Now this is like really interesting because one sec. Because even though this instance variable, sorry, this instance variable belongs to this class, the my player script. However, this instance is an instance of the my player script class. So it's a particular object in the scene, which is even though static variables are supposed to refer to supposed to refer to the class itself. They're supposed to be variables of the class itself. What we've done here is we have made an object which belongs to the class, and it's also an object which of the class. And then basically we can call move player on that one particular object that we have. Uh, hopefully some of you get it. Some of you, yeah.
It's an object with static properties, basically.
Yeah, it's so you can only have one of that object, and then it's really simple to refer to that one object because it's just an instance, and you can call it's a static instance.
What's the benefit of this?
So there's a lot of benefits when you want. Actually, I'll show you a. Actually, it's okay. The benefits are like audio managers and all that, right? You have if you have multiple audio managers in the scene, it can cause a lot of problems because, for example, if you want to play a sound like I want to play the player death sound, it's like a screaming sound, right? Then I say dot play sound, but it can then we will need a reference to the audio manager whatever we have. So what we need to do is we have like this public this like public audio manager which then we drag in the inspector and all stuff. But here we don't need to do anything like that. We just need to like simply, it's like just one simple line. You don't need any references, nothing. It's just one simple line to make your like to play a sound or something.
Audio manager dot instance dot this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, instead of having a reference or whatever, you can very simply call it like this. Yeah. I'll show you an example from a game I made. Of like, good what's it called, singleton. Okay, I'll wait for it to load, but it's completely okay if you don't understand this. Don't be yeah.
You didn't you declared the instance, but you didn't like
Yeah. I'm just trying to like and make you explain. So it's like you go instance, and then you say this, and then this is how you would like initialize the singleton. But it is not a. I'm not trying to explain singletons entirely. I don't think everyone is yeah. But basically, so you're saying that this particular instance is the static instance which belongs to the class, but it's also object because it's an instance. This is an object. They say this object that you belong to, but it's also a object. Yeah. Um. Maybe like this. Yeah, so this is like an example, like a useful case for singleton. So here, what we had to do is we had to make a cursor for our game. So we want this cursor to be editable wherever we want it to be. That wherever you have, you can whenever you hover over a button, whenever you do something, the cursor can be edited. The cursor can be changed. So what we did, we made a cursor manager, which is also a singleton. As you can see, there's an instance, and then here some base functionality for this is that when if there is an instance already, if there's no other script that's assigned this instance, then it assigns the instance, and then it also says don't destroy on load. I'll get to this later, it's a bit advanced. But otherwise, just ignore this line. But otherwise, if there already is an instance, then what we do is we destroy that instance. So it makes sure that's only one instance. So if you have two objects with this cursor manager, I have uh, 1 and 2, and then this one calls, okay, on the board I'm drawing. This one has, this one goes and calls the awake function, and then we say instance is equal to this. Then when the second one calls the awake function, what happens is we say we check if instance, okay, if instance is equal to null, which means this is a check. So it says if if it's equal to null. So you read the double, this double is equal to as it returns a boolean, it returns a true or false value. This is an assignment, a single one is assignment, the double one is a boolean, we return a boolean or true or false. So we say that if this instance is equal to null, is so if this is equal to null, then we'd call whatever. But this instance is already assigned here, so this is not equal to null. So we call the else function, which what it does is it destroys it. So every other object except the first one will be destroyed. And this is how you would maintain that there's only one singleton in the entire scene. And yeah, there's only but if you understand, then it's okay. If you don't, it's completely fine. Can feel free to ask me multiple times. I'll explain it to as many times as I need to, as many times it takes for you to understand. But it's completely okay if you don't still. All right. Okay, so the input. Okay, I think you all can take a break. I think first. Okay, yeah, take a 5-10 minute break. Just chill out.
Forgetting about something about the class. So wait, instance is a static variable,
Mm.
and how can we activate a static variable inside an object?
You can call static variables anywhere.
Huh?
You can call a static variable anywhere. So when you say, come here.
Yeah.
When you say like this thing,
Mm-hmm.
this
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So because okay, static variables are, you can call them like
wait.
like
I
a
think-
normal variable also.
I think I'm starting to understand. Oh, so
Yeah,
for
you
example,
don't always.
I create an object of this class, and I call this function. Then it's going to give the static variable instance a value, right? Does this mean it? Wait.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's called
and-
that function on that
Yeah,
one.
and this and this static variable's value is this object. Since
Yeah.
it's okay,
Yeah.
see. Kind of forgetting about Python.
It's okay. It's okay.
Is the recording on?
Yeah. It's okay. You can ask now.
Is this too fast for a non-coder?
I know. I was trying
I mean, you're already beating Boyd Anderson. I mean, This workshop is like 3 lectures content for the 20-30 years. Yeah.
I try to, but I don't know. I'm not going as deep as he would go. Yeah.
You're beating the Professor Boy Anderson now.
I think the pace is okay. I think it's slow actually.
Yeah,
Okay,
but for
see?
non-coders,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what I meant when I texted you. Okay, we legit have like quite a lot of shit like very like what we wanna do, everything. Okay, we have what is it? Oh yeah, my friend's doing like the UI and the art. She has her own like concept and everything.
Sure.
Okay, so we have all this ready.
Yeah.
We just don't know where to like.
Where to
As
start?
in, we know where to start. We started it like, what should the general workflow be? Like, should I be? My thing is like, I want to make the placeholder scenes and everything. Like, then I'm just gonna be going back, deleting, changing everything. It doesn't feel like efficient, or it doesn't feel correct. You know what I mean?
I think, um, okay, so this is called Troy. I got a tablet for this reason. Not for you, bro.
Wow.
Okay. So this is called. So what you're saying is you go like a vertical approach, right? How most game studios work is like a horizontal approach. They make sure every single system is like really well developed first, and they don't even start making the game. Like it takes a long time to for the game to like be seen, but the systems are really important always. System design is really important. How all your systems will interact, how your how everything will work is really important because
By everything you mean like every little detail.
yeah
Currency, health.
yeah, like for example, when you make what sort of system, have you played like Papers Please?
No,
Have you
but
played
I
That's Not My Neighbor or something like that?
no papers, please. I understand.
You know, right? So for example, um okay, can you name me a system?
Oh, Mario.
A system like
What do you mean
audio
system?
system,
Oh yeah,
whatever.
audio. Shit, like score.
Score system. Yeah. Okay. So you gotta um okay, maybe let's consider dialogue system
Okay, sure.
a bit more advanced. So dialogue system. So you gotta ask questions like when we need to add another feature into this, how easy is it to add it? For example, I have my dialogue system in my game. You wanna add like what's it called? Choices. How easy is it to add it? How easy is it for a non-coder to go inside and make a whole dialogue and be able to assign it? You gotta think about design. You gotta see the other coder as a designer, not like he won't go into your code. He's gonna just have access to what you give them access to, and it's gotta be so okay. The main thing about every game is that when we make game systems versus when we make I don't know, a web app or something.
Small prototype.
Yeah, a game is extremely scalable. Everything is going to be like extremely scalable. You got to be able to add, drag, drop. You got to make changes really fast. You got to like all the systems need to be really like scalable again. So for example, we have a event. We have for our game we have a system where we have what we have is we have scenarios. So like papers please, each person comes in, right, as a particular scenario. So how do you make sure that you can like specify in what order you do each thing? Like when the player comes in, you want him to first give them your thing. Sometimes you don't want to give them your details or whatever. How do you specify that? How do you like specify that easily, particularly? And then how do you make sure that you can do different things? And for example, you want to play a sound when the player comes in, a different sound. They should have different dialogue. They should have different all that. How do you trigger all that? So what we came up with is like a command system. So each scenario has a bunch. It has a list of objects. Okay. This object is a type of command. This command is very easy to make and change. So whenever we need to add a new feature, we need to add, like, for example, the score should increase. We can make a new command. We can assign it here, and we there you go. Like, very simple.
What do you mean?
Like a command. This is called this is a different design part. It's called a command pattern or something. It's so you'll have like a list of objects. These have a script which is like a command script or something, and then this has a function called execute. And then whenever you make a new type of command, right, you need to inherit from this base command. And then, yeah, so you gotta really think of like scalability. You gotta think of like what features you might want to add in the future. Yeah, I think I'd recommend like reading about the solid principles. The solid, just look up solid principles unity. Yeah, basically.
So I'm definitely rushing by doing all the placeholder stuff. To really set
Okay,
everything
okay,
up.
bro. So
That's what it
it's
feels
a
like.
triangle. Okay, it's fast. I think what was it? Fast, uh, quality, cost.
Wow.
You gotta choose. Either it can be fast, but like honestly, our game was really like, because we when we made every system, right, you was a very important thing to think about is how are how is it gonna work when another person uh commit something on the same thing on this level. Will you like, what will happen if like some person edits the same level together? Will you like have the whole level be like erased for one person? So you really think about that, because that slows down, that speeds up processor really fast. Yeah. Okay.
Reason behind virtual.
Virtual. Virtual is just a contract. So when you have this thing, right, this start vehicle, then I know that I want the child class to override this thing. Like I
Oh,
want the
you
child.
didn't write override, is it?
Yeah, I write override here. So it's like just cleaner code. When someone reads your code, also they know that, oh, this is override. But I can just I could just have this, right? But then if like you don't have this, what will you make of this, right?
Yeah.
It's like that. But also there's another thing, like you can make it so every child object of this has to override this thing, this
Oh, without making
function.
it abstract.
Yeah, it's abstract interface, all that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to teach, I guess.
Okay, thanks.
I think 30, I think 15 minutes. I think I should end it fast.
Explain instant again. I was trying to figure out why there wasn't a function. I didn't notice you added a function.
Oh, okay. Maybe, okay. What we'll do, you come back to me right after it's just 15 minutes, the lecture, and you come back to me, I'll explain to you whole lecture. Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. No, I was supposed to do the jump and all that. Jumping, fair movement.
But it's
Then
super
nothing
long.
will happen.
People are having a lot of confusion with the OOP stuff right now.
Actually, it's okay.
You went a bit too much. So it's fine. It's fine. Because honestly, as well, we have no idea what it is.
Hey, okay. Break over. Okay, quiet down, quiet down. Okay, I think. Alright. Okay, wait. Listen. Uh, the class has been going on for a bit too long. I think I'll just wrap it up in like 10 minutes, really fast. We were supposed to do jumping and all that, but I think it's a bit harder to do because we went a bit too in depth with the classes and OOP. Um, First of all, does anyone have any issues with the input system or how it's working right now? Is everyone able to work it in their laptop? Everything? You okay? Bye-bye. Is the input system, the old one that we're using, working for everyone? No? Okay. So it's showing an error, is it? Okay. Okay, I'll just cover the new input system really quick and how to set it up. I think in the next lecture, please come. I'll just show you the jumping and all that really fast. Okay, all the movement stuff, and I'll cover the collision and all that. Just pure Unity next lecture. So what we were using the last lecture was the old input system. So what it does is it has like a you what you're supposed to do is this like a singleton that we just saw. It's like not a single sorry. It's a static function called get access on the class input, and we just call whatever is here. Okay, it just returns a true or false depending on which button we press. So in the last lecture we made I'll just last lecture we made this where the input we do input dot get key code dot d. So this means that when you press the d key on the keyboard, this whatever runs. With the new input system, things are a bit different. First of all, hopefully everyone can see. Okay, this is important if you're having the error, right? So what are you supposed to do to activate the old plus the new input system? You go here on edit project settings, should open. You go on player, you scroll down, and when you see active input handling, it should say both. So that means that we want to use the new input system as well as the old input system. Yeah. So that should hopefully fix the errors you're having over there. If you're still having the error, I think just restart Unity, restart your laptop or something like that. It should work. Okay, now the new input system. Let's cover that. The next lecture we can actually use it in the our game. Okay, I'll just make it so we can press a button and we can like print a statement. So with the new input system, firstly, just make sure you have the new input system package installed. You go on Windows, Package Manager, and should search for whatever you have. You go to in project, and then here you see the input system in the in project, not the Unity registry, in project here. Okay, everyone able to see it? Okay, and you should see the input system when you scroll down here somewhere. See the input system. If you don't see it, then you don't have the new input system like installed in your project. To to install it, you'll have to go Unity registry, search up input system, and this should pop up. Then here it should say like install or update or something. I'll not update it. I think if you downloaded the 6th version, 6 point something, it should already have it installed. Okay, everything okay? All right. So now for the new input system, how instead of the simple input dot get button and then we put the thing, we have like a bit more complex. It's a bit more it's complex, but it can be worth it for if you're making a bigger game. You right click inside your asset window, right click, go on create, and then here, if you have the input system package installed, on the bottom you should see the input action line. You see that? Okay. When you do that, you can click on it. It should make a new input action uh, asset here. It made it for me here. I can name it whatever, like my player input action, something like that. Now, when you click on this new input asset you made, you can see on your inspector window that something has changed. Because I didn't already, because I already had an input asset asset. That's why there's this error thing. But you guys, I don't think will face the error. You can just go on edit asset. You click on edit asset here, and then this new like scary window should open up. So what is action map, the actions and action properties? So I'll draw it on the board like a really simple. Okay. 1 second. So action map is like this big box, okay? This is your action map. You can have different action maps. The purpose for having different action maps is, for example, you can have one for your keyboard, one for your controller, one for, I don't know, a DDR machine, whatever you want, it's okay. And these are your input assets. So you can go ahead and create the action map here by pressing this plus button. I press plus and it makes a new action map. I can call this my keyboard. There's a few useful things for doing this action map. You can also, instead of having it for your keyboard and controller, you can have it for UI. Or for example, if I have a game where a player can move on ground, but when we're on water, we want to do a different thing. So we can have this one for ground, this one for water. We can make another for UI, all that stuff. So it's really, it can be useful, but I find it very painstaking. It takes a lot of time. So inside this input action map, we have actions. These are like your jump or your move. So each action map will have your actions, which are like jump, move, etc. I'll create, there should be a new action created for you already. You can rename it, I'll call it jump. Because we're making a geometry dash like clone sort of thing. We'll just have one input with jump, right? So let's just make a jump input action. And then you can see there's properties. So the properties are more like what you actually press. So in this, you'll specify that's a space bar, like a space bar. But you can also have like multiple mappings. So you can have like for your for your controller, you can have like the X button be jump, and that is how you specify that. Then here I would go on button because there are few options. You have a value, a button, and pass through. Uh, a value is a value and a pass-through is very similar, and button is a bit different from that. Button is just like you press it once, the action is there. Value, you press it, it's still, the action is still happening. If you're pressing it, it's still happening. And the difference between value and pass-through is more to do with how do I say? It's more to do with like if you have if you have two players with different controllers and all that, I want them both to be able to press the same space button on the keyboard or the mouse. Like if you have two keyboards attached or something to one thing, then you have a pass through. This means that you can have both of them have pressed the space button or something. And I've never had a use case for this ever. I think it's useful to know. Yeah, and then here you have actions, then you have interactions. Interactions are more like what you want to do. If you want to have a hold, a multi-tap, a press, a slow tap, or a tap, these can specify here, like if you want to hold, it's creating, and it made a hold. And then you can see like it has options for how long you need to hold for this action to do its thing. And yeah, so basically we won't be doing any interactions right now. Interactions, I've also never had a use case for this, but it's important to know. I think if you're it's important to know when you're using the new input system. So for now we just have this this mapping. So what we have is we have our keyboard map. This should be more like I should have named it a player map. Just consider it a player map. Player map. This has the jump, and this jump should be mapped to space, but we've not done this part. So how do we map it to space? We go here, and we click on this drop down arrow. Then you can see the binding. So this thing here is the binding. You can have as many bindings as you want. You can have the space linked to your X button on your controller, on the space bar, on the W key, whatever, and they will all work. For binding, I can go to when you click on binding, that should have open a new property. It will open a new different thing on the right side. This is called we can see is binding properties. You can click on path. Then a simple way to do this is you can either like go through every single option you have, or you can just press on listen, and then I can press the space button, and here the space button appears. Then I can just click here. Really simple. And we have made our action mapping. So basically now we have something that would be called when we press the space button, but we've not assigned it to anything. Nothing will happen when we press it. This works now, but nothing will happen. How do we make it work? We'll on the new player input action, I'll just save this window. You can either click on save asset, or auto save is a good option because I don't know why they don't have it enabled automatically, but just enable it. I'll do a Control S, and then I can close it. Now here when you click on this player input mapping that you made, you can go here and click on generate C# class. I clicked on it, I enabled it. Now I can click on apply, and it should do some magic. Yeah. Okay, let me just. I'll just change the name because there's some error. I'll just change the name to player jump instead. And there's no. Hmm. Uh, so when you have this, when you do this on your machine, it should now you should have a C# class generated. Hopefully you guys don't see any errors. Now what you can do is add a component called input called a player input. And then when you do this, you should see the action mapping you made here. The default map you're using is your keyboard, which I made in this big box is your default map. And then you can specify how do you want this to work. You can specify what is the behavior. I'll go on a really quick explanation on what the behaviors are. The send messages and broadcast messages, invoke Unity events and invoke C#. This last two you won't really need, I think, but the first two I'll cover. So what the input system does, the new input system, is that whenever you have your script, right, and you have the behavior as send messages, whenever you have your script, because right now the behavior is set to send messages. What it should do is when you have your player script, this is my script, okay? It's my big script. When I have a function called on, and then the name of the thing we made here, this name, this thing, this jump, this thing, we can say on jump. And now whenever we press whatever binding we added here, this should run this script, this on jump script, whatever is inside here. So instead of doing how in the last lecture we were doing if get key dot w or key code w or something, then it was checking it every single frame. Now this thing is only done one time, so you can see how it's more effective, how now we don't need to check the input every single frame. We can just check it when we actually get the input, so it's a bit faster, but it's harder to set up. So I would not recommend using. But yeah, so if anyone's having errors with their input system, they can do it like this. I'll make a really simple, like how you would do this. So now, okay, wait, sorry, I forgot to explain this. So on your player, now that you have a player in component on your player, you can now whatever script is attached to the player, this script, like the my player script, this is the script that should have this on jump function. This is because this is a send messages. But however, if you do broadcast messages, I've never had the use for this. I've never actually used this. But what it does is that if you have a script, if you make a game object, you assign it as a child of this. When you assign a child, you can it moves with the parent object. I assigned the child, and then if this my player script was inside the child, like this, and this player input is on the parent, and the script is on the child, then if we do on jump on this child also, then that should call then that should work when we press the jump button. It should call the on jump on the child, on the script on the child also. What? Yeah. So we have okay. So okay, did you understand the player, how we made the player input, how we binded it? Okay, that's good. Okay, now you understand that. To actually call the input, call the function or call whatever you want when you do the input, what you need to do is add a component called the player input on the game object that is supposed to like respond to the input. So when you do that, this will fill with some default like things. First is the action map. This is your new generated one. When you did generate C# class earlier, then it generated this. Then it gets assigned. Then you can go. Then you can select a map, like we made here. This map you can select, and then and then we can go to behavior and select send messages or broadcast messages. And then here actually you can see that because we made the jump action here, right, we can see that there's a on jump. It says will broadcast messages to game object on jump here. So when we make a new action or something, it would also call, like if we make a new binding called like on die, no, not on die, on press escape or something, then then instead of on jump it will say on escape or something like that. So and then because we did when we do send messages, it will scan this particular game object that this player input attached to for a script, and then inside the script it will see if there's a on jump function, but on jump function, and then run it whenever we do the jump. But if we do the broadcast messages, then instead of that it will just call the on jump. It will scan for the on jump function in every single child object. If you have a billion child object, it will scan through every single one of them and call the on jump on every single one of them. Okay. Do you understand the send messages at least? Do you understand send messages? Yeah? Yeah, if the send messages will be will scan the game object itself. It won't scan the child, yeah. And then I can make a function called public on jump void on jump, and then call like debug and then this should work. I think I'm out of time. I think thank you for staying. Yeah, I think this should be how it should work. So now this class, when you run it, when you press the jump button, this should call the on jump in your debug in your console. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I think no. It's not working for me. I don't use it that much. But I'll see. But I think it should work for you guys. Is it working for you guys? Okay. I'll try to see my errors later. But I think for today's class, this is okay. I'll cover this thing. I'll cover the camera follow, the jumping, and physics next class. Okay.
I think we should cover the input system.
Huh?
I think we should cover the input system.
Okay. Okay, I think class over for today. Thank you for coming. Please come for the next one also. Oh, also, wait. Sorry. Can you all, if yeah, Pubs is recruiting. If anyone wants to join, they can just I'm not sure. Publicity, I guess. If you want to join, you can just message this. It's like you draw stuff for the game club. Yeah. Okay, thank you guys. Okay, you can leave now. Bye bye. Hello. Huh?
The binding is not okay.
Yeah. It's my first time also.
No worries, but
I'll see
just
what's
want to
wrong.
ask, right, why you can't hard code the jump?
The jump?
Yeah, because we hard coded left and right.
Yeah, we can. That's the old input system. I'm just trying to like get the intuition for the new one. It's
but
not
the new
useful.
one-
I've never used it.
The new one is just for convenience sake. They
Yeah,
help you
it's not for
support
convenience.
auto
It's for it's more use cases because now what you can do is when you want to switch from a keyboard to a controller, right? Like you have a keyboard and you plug into controller. It very easily handles that. But with
But we can code for one method.
yeah, it needs some extra code.